At the end of the day, I'm making the movies for myself. I mean, I'm not making them for anybody else.
Drachenfeuer und Verderben, das werdet ihr über uns bringen. Hat nur seinen eigenen Vorteil im Sinn.
On the audio commentary too, I think it was The Two Towers, you said that you could imagine Treebird becoming like a detective, like a forest detective, when I remember correctly. So now you've got Benedict Cumberbatch, who's kind of a detective in his own right. Any thoughts on like Smaug Holmes, reptile detective, or?
Well, not particularly, because when we cast Benedict, I hadn't seen Sherlock Holmes. We cast him about 2 years ago, or 2.5 years ago. I think he'd shot Sherlock, but we hadn't actually. I certainly hadn't seen it when I first met him. But he is. But you are right in the sense that Smaug has to outsmart Bilbo. I mean, unlike Gollum, with Gollum, I always felt that Bilbo was one step ahead of Gollum. Bilbo figured out how to play Gollum and how to stay alive and how to, stay ahead of Gollum. But with Smaug, I wanted it to be very different. I wanted, the dragon to always be smarter than Bilbo, always be figuring things out. And also the dragon is paranoid. He is a paranoid psychopath. For 200 years, Smaug's been waiting for somebody to show up. He's known that somebody is going to show up to try to get all this gold, because he's sitting on a lot of gold. And he is trying to outsmart Bilbo and figure out who he is and why he's there. So there is a certain amount of detective work going on, yes.
Is it also a weakness that he could just like fry him and be done with it?
But he's not going to get the information that he needs. You see. I mean, Smaug's not scared of Bilbo. Bilbo doesn't scare Smaug in the slightest. What Smaug needs is information from him. I mean, to kill him would be too easy. He needs to work out, who his friends are. Is there a great army outside the door? Smaug doesn't know.
Was it easier, like for the second part, after you got all the exposition, like all the setup out of the way, and this time you could dive right into the action, into the fun part? And I have to admit, I enjoyed this one way more than the first one. Yeah,
well, the second episode, you certainly do have the advantage of not having to set everything up. You can just jump straight into it, and it's, we wanted just to now just be racing through, these events of the story with as much excitement as we could, as much danger and complication, because you're bringing a lot of new characters into the story. You're adding a lot of extra complication to the story now. But this film now is bringing in a lot of other people who are also interested in it, because there happens to be a lot of gold in that mountain, as well as and if should something happen to the dragon, then that gold is going to be there for the taking, and there's only 13 dwarves to defend it. So, all of that is leading into events that obviously are in our third and last movie next year. But it is it's an opportunity to be free of the burden of exposition and setting things up, and you can just have a lot of excitement, a lot of fun.
Do you ever long back to the simpler times of Brain Dead or Heavenly Creatures, when you didn't have an army at your command, but just like a few people? Or is it much more fun to have like all this at your disposition?
It's the nature of the films, really. I mean, I couldn't do something like The Lord of the Rings or The Hobbit with the size of crew that we had on the old movies. I mean, you just couldn't do it, because there's way too many jobs, way too much to be built and to have to design and to make, because you're basically, you're designing and building an entire new world. I mean, my enjoyment comes from people, showing me designs and showing me concepts and art that they've done that surprises me, and it's always so much better than what I had in my imagination. And so I'm always sort of the person who's reacting and seeing these incredible, designs for what Erebor should look like, or Lake Town, and thinking, my God, it's fantastic. And it sort of there's a certain amount of excitement that I have all the way through the film. I mean, right the way through the post-production with the visual effects. I mean, every time I see a shot of the dragon, Smaug, and we were doing shots of Smaug up till about a week ago. Like, we would have finished our last shot probably about a week from ago. We were working right up to the last minute, and you get excited. You're like a kid watching these shots for the very first time.
Wahrlich, alle Lieder und Sagen bleiben weit zurück hinter deiner Ungeheuerlichkeit. Oh, Smaug, der Gewaltige.
Do you have ever been told that you have to kill more darlings?
Kill more darlings.
You even mentioned it yourself on the director's comment that like the first trilogy had like many ends, and that you have a hard time trimming things down, or is it just like because things are so beautifully designed? And
no, I mean we do trim a lot of things down. I mean that's, you know, with the extended cuts, when we release extended cuts, we have a different, you know, a lot of material. There's actually going to be a really good extended cut for the Desolation of Smaug. There's a lot of scenes that are going to be in the extended cut for this film. No, look, I mean, at the end of the day, I'm making the movies for myself. I mean, I'm not making them for anybody else. So, what's in these movies are exactly what I want to have in them. So,
quick last question: your favorite Doctor Who?
I grew up in the years of Patrick Troughton. He was the second Doctor, wasn't he? And then into John Pertwee. So that was when I was a young kid hiding behind the sofa watching Doctor Who. And Patrick Troughton is the one who's emblazoned in my imagination as the Doctor Who of the stories that scared the hell out of me when I was young.
Oh, you.
Oh, yes. It's me. I'm here.